All right, today we're going to dive into a strategy that can seriously change how a business survives and grows. It's called key account management, and it's all about focusing your energy where it really matters most, on the customers who are truly vital to your success.
So let me just start with a simple but super important question. Are all of your customers equal? I mean, on the surface, treating everyone the same seems like the fair thing to do. But when you actually look at the data, it tells a completely different story.
And here's why. You're looking at something called the Pareto principle, but you probably know it as the 80-20 rule. And what it says is, for pretty much any business, a huge chunk of your revenue, we're talking like 80%, comes from a tiny group of your customers, maybe just 20%. That's not a minor imbalance, folks. It's a fundamental truth of business. So that begs the real question, right? If just a handful of your customers are driving almost all of your success, how in the world do you manage them?
Well, that's exactly where a key account strategy, or CAM for short, comes into play. It's a conscious decision, a real plan to stop treating everyone the same, and instead to pour your focus, your energy, and your strategy into that vital few.
So what is key account management, really? Well, think of it as a formal game plan. You identify your most valuable customers, and then you build a real partnership with them. We're talking customized solutions, dedicated teams, priority service, the whole 9 yards. You stop treating them like just another customer and start treating them like a true strategic partner. I absolutely love this definition. And it's because of one single powerful word: assets. That one word completely reframes the whole relationship. See, your key accounts aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet anymore. They're valuable company assets, just as important as your technology or your real estate. And the goal? It's to grow them, manage them, and get the most value out of them for the long haul. Okay, so this all sounds pretty good in theory, right? But why is it so critical for businesses right now, today? Well, it turns out there are some pretty big shifts happening in the market that are basically forcing everyone's hand.
There are really four big drivers pushing this. First off, markets are consolidating. That means suppliers have fewer customers, but the ones they do have are huge, so losing just one? That's a massive blow. Second, decisions aren't made by one person anymore. You're dealing with these complex committees. Third, the way companies buy things has changed. Procurement is more centralized, and they're often just looking at the price tag, not the relationship. And finally, technology makes it ridiculously easy to switch suppliers. A strong relationship is pretty much your only real defense against that. Okay, so how do you actually find these super important accounts? Well, a great way to do it is by looking through three different lenses. You can think of them as a toolkit, really, for uncovering the true hidden value in your customer base. So what are these lenses? First, there's customer lifetime value, or CLV. Second is something called unrealized potential value, or UPV. And third is our old friend, the Pareto principle. Now, each one of these gives you a totally different piece of the puzzle, but when you use them together, that's when you get a really clear picture of who your most important customers truly are. All right, let's start with that first lens, CLV. This is all about looking back and looking at today. It's basically the total profit you've made from a customer and what you can probably expect to keep making based on how they've always bought from you. It tells you who's been your MVP up until now. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at that second lens, UPV. This one is all about looking forward. It's not about what a customer is buying from you right now. It's about what they could be buying. It's like finding a hidden treasure chest of growth opportunity just sitting there in a relationship you already have. The difference between the two is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. CLV is the value you have today. UPV is the value you could have tomorrow. And think about it. A customer who has a kind of okay CLV but a massive UPV, that's a hidden gem. And that's a perfect candidate for a key account strategy. So how do you actually unlock all that potential? Well, there are three main ways to go about it. You can cross-sell them, offer them other things you sell. You can upsell, which is getting them to use more of what they already buy in new places. And then there's the really advanced stuff, co-creation, where you actually team up with the customer to build something brand new together. Okay, on to our third and final lens, the Pareto principle. This is a great way to double-check everything else you figured out. It's a funny story, actually. It comes from an Italian economist, Vilfredo Pareto. He noticed that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by just 20% of the people. But get this, he even saw it in his own garden. He found that 20% of his pea pods had 80% of the peas. It's everywhere.
And this natural law applies perfectly to business. So after you've looked at all your customers through the CLV and UPV lenses, this is the pattern you should be looking for. You should see a vital few that are driving almost all of your results. The 80-20 rule basically confirms that focusing your energy isn't just a smart idea, it's a strategy that's literally in tune with how the world actually works. So what's the bottom line here? What does this all mean? It means that a small, and importantly, an identifiable group of your customers, they're not just customers. They are, without a doubt, your most critical assets.
So if there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. Your ability to find, keep, and grow these top-tier customers, it's not just another sales thing on your to-do list. No, it is absolutely critical for the long-term survival and growth of your company. Protecting and nurturing these relationships, it's one of the most important things you can possibly do.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. You probably already know who your biggest customers are, right? You can just look at who spends the most today. But here's the real question. Do you know their true hidden potential? A real key account strategy forces you to dig in and find that answer. And trust me, that answer, it could unlock the entire future of your business.